to another episode of the Worship Hearts podcast. Thank you so much for being with us, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Anchor or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you for being here with us. And we are continuing our discussion from last week um, about gear. We're going to dig in probably for the next few weeks a little more specifically on a few items. And this week's item, we posted a question about it, kind of a question, kind of a statement about um, gear that you use. And we wanted to talk this evening about guitars, the quintessential uh, element. Yeah, you got a couple of them on the wall there behind you, Dad. Um, the
A plethora, as it were.
yeah. Look
A
at all those
plethora.
guitars. Yeah,
Yeah.
and a couple of seagulls.
Yep. Yep.
What is the Epiphone? Is that the white one there?
Uh, wrong way. Yes.
Epiphone, and then the one
Seagull and Epi.
over
That's
your other shoulder is
that's a
Talk, isn't it?
that's a Takamine.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yep. So we asked, no one responded, and that's okay. That's all right. But we asked the question,
It's my surprise look.
what is your go-to guitar of choice for worship, and specifically worship? There are literally tens of thousands of different options for acoustic guitars, just acoustic guitars,
Just acoustics.
let alone the mix and match of acoustic and electric guitars and
And
like
acoustic electrics and electric acoustics and
yeah, I
yeah.
mean it is really ridiculous the amount of different guitars,
Yeah.
and they add thousands every year.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
Fat body, thin body, round body.
whether it's got a notch out of
Eh,
the
yeah,
body
not
or
yeah.
not,
Yep,
where the hole's
yep,
located,
yep, yep.
steel guitars and
Oh yeah,
banjos
tabletops.
and
Yep,
like,
yep.
oh my goodness, it's ridiculous. So
If it's got strings, you can almost play it like a guitar.
almost,
Almost.
yeah. Um, so, Dad, I'm gonna let you kind of kick us off with this a little bit. What is the guitar that you currently lead worship with, and what kind of brought you to that guitar?
Well, story story has it, and God, the blessings of God has it. I'll put a 30-year synopsis together here, and say I paid $100 for my first guitar ever. It was a Fender acoustic 6 string. Paid the guy $100 so he could get his bass out of hock from the pawn shop, and I started playing guitar with those two other guys. One played lead guitar, one played bass, and then I just kind of strummed along with them to learn a few things. Long time ago. I'll make the story even longer. Uh, Took that guitar with me when I entered into full time ministry. I led worship with that at that church, and then other took that guitar with me into full time ministry. Um, Ended up being a catalyst to lead a young man to the Lord in our living room, and he began to play and write songs that were Christ centered. He was already involved in a rock band in the Seattle area, again, years ago. And he taught me a little bit more about what you can do with a guitar. And a phenomenal guy, Vince Lichlighter. He was a part of Jonah 33. And I was cleaning out my office the other day, and I found an old cassette tape. I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to figure out some way of playing it and digitizing it. But it was from the first band, Christian band that he was in, called Lift, and way back. But I rabbit trailed there just to say that he taught me a lot more about guitar. Continued to lead in worship with guitar, went on a mission trip at another church that I was involved with, and gave away that Fender. And since then, God has seen fit to pay for every guitar that I have ever put my fingers on, and including the ones you see behind me here. There's been one other guitar that I paid money for. Well, two other guitars that I paid money for. No, three. We bought
Yep. My Ibanez.
your Ibanez graduation gift.
Yeah.
We bought Noel's Ovation, and also paid $20 at a garage sale for a little guitar that hangs around here at the house that the grandkids love to play with. So along with these others hanging, but that's it. That's the only money I've ever spent on guitars. All the ones that I own have been God given, and I currently am playing a Taylor. I couldn't even tell you what kind of Taylor it is, other than it's an acoustic Taylor. It is so sweet. I love the tone. It's a thinner body, so it's got a bright tone to it, but I love it. I love the tone of my Seagull here. I've got two of those. I love the tone of those, and I used those in worship for quite a while. Um, they have a passive pickup in them, and so it kind of lends itself to being a little different when you're having a pedal board. Um, my Taylor has an active pickup in it and system and an EQ and all of that. And that's what I currently use in leading worship. When I travel, I usually will take the Seagull, just depending upon where I'm going and what I'm doing, what type of a setting I'm going to be playing in. So that is what I currently use. And I have a couple of. I've got a acoustic bass hanging in the office, and then I have an Epiphone hollow body electric acoustic, or acoustic electric, one of the two. Anyway, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous guitar. I love playing around with it. I don't use it much to lead worship with because I have a tendency of being so used to holding on to that acoustic that I bend the neck just a little bit. And electrics, it's real easy to pull them out of tune when you're doing that. And I get excited every once in a while when I'm worshiping. So it's best for me to just stick with a good rhythm and play a few lead licks here and there on the acoustic. But currently, I'm using a Taylor that a good friend of ours gave to me about a year and a half ago, and it survived a tornado. Living up here in Oklahoma, it was quite an interesting story of the guitar, let alone the rest of his house. But
Yeah.
but this guitar survived an F3 tornado, and he had got himself another Taylor, and decided that he didn't play this one as much as he thought he needed to, and wanted me to play it. And I started playing it for a few weeks, and he just came up to me one day after Sunday morning worship, and he said, "You can keep that." Yeah. So I was scared to play it at the beginning, just because all my guitars, none of the guitars that I own together would equal the cost of this one, and
Oh man.
so it's quite a beautiful piece of equipment, and the very least that I can do is use it to glorify God, and that's my goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Very cool. Well, I've owned a couple of like Goodwill garage sale kind of guitars. I think my first guitar ended up also being Noelle's first guitar because I think I passed it down to her, but
yeah.
it was a orange and yellow. I want to say the name of it started with an H, but I can't even remember what it was called. It was just an inexpensive guitar. I think that you and mom picked up somewhere along the way, and uh,
that that
or it
might
was
that might have been number four, the guitar
yeah,
that I paid for. I think it was a Hondo, I think is what it was.
Yeah, something like
So
that. Uh, so I started out learning on that guitar, and then yeah, when I graduated high school, was blessed with that beautiful Ibanez The I love that guitar and the tone that it has. I would classify it as more of a um, country sounding kind of guitar.
Sure.
It's bright, but it's also got a little uh, I don't know, twang or roll to the
Yeah.
tone as well
Yeah.
that
It does.
makes it. I don't know. I love it. I love the sound of that guitar, especially with a decent set of strings on it. Just uh, yeah, it really brightens it up and sounds really good. Blue steel strings, some
Yes.
medium light blue steel strings sound really good on that guitar. So um, so when I started leading worship um, down here at the church that we were attending at the time, I led with that guitar, and then started having issues with the pickup, and it was sucking the battery down. And one Sunday, a good friend of ours, he had brought his guitar, and I think he was playing drums that week or something, junior, and he said, "Well, here, just use this one." And kind of the rest is history. I mean, he had brought that one up to church, and I played it for probably a year and a half or 2 years, and it started having an issue with the plug, and the battery was not making good contact or something, so it would drop
Right.
out on occasion. And so he brought another one, another Taylor.
Yeah.
These were both Taylors, and brought another Taylor up and swapped me out for that one, and we got ready to um, leave that church. He was going to a different church. We were looking for a church as well, and he said, "Well, just hang on to that one." I'm like, "What? Wait a minute.
What do you
Hold on.
mean?
Hang on to it. You want me to just store it at my place? No, just
Yeah.
hang
Yeah.
on to it.
Yeah. Right.
And it's I like you did. I couldn't tell you what model it was, but I love playing that guitar. Um, it's got a good full sound. It is very much so a rhythm guitar. There's no tone about it that stands out.
Right.
So
Right.
I can strum on it pretty hard and not have to worry about it, the B string being a little off and it sounding awful. It's got a nice full blend of sound across the strings, and uh, most any song you play on it sounds really good. I've also got, and I don't know how long it's been in there, but it's a little rubber puck, and I don't remember who introduced us to these, but it fits uh, in the mouth of the guitar,
The
in
sound
the
hole.
body,
Yeah.
in the sound hole underneath the strings, and it does dampen the acoustic sound of the guitar quite a bit, but it keeps the feedback, um,
Right.
like it almost completely eliminates the feedback. So if you've got a wet stage where you're playing,
Mhm.
um, it is I highly encourage you to track one of these things down, um, for the sake of keeping the feedback to a minimum,
Right.
because it does. I mean, after having that in the guitar, I never had an issue with feedback through the guitar at all, ever.
Right.
Um, and so yeah, played 2 or 3 years with that Taylor, and still got it sitting over here in the corner at the house, and
Yeah.
I love getting it out
Yeah.
um, and messing around with it. It sounds great, feels great. We When you and I started messaging back and forth about this particular episode, um, and then when we posted on Facebook about the question, it clicked with me that there's more to a guitar than just the sound.
Yes.
And I wanted to talk just briefly about that. What is it for you that draws you in on a particular guitar? What are the things that you look for in a guitar when you're well, in particular when you're looking for one for worship?
Oh, yeah. It really depends upon I mean, you started that off, and it really depends upon what you are going to use the guitar for. If you're just piddling around to try and do a few things or learn a few things, then pick something up that that doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be top of the line. It doesn't have to be, but something that you can get that will stay in tune, obviously, and you can get it in tune, and the string, the action is not going to be too deep. Um, it's not going to make it too difficult to play. Uh, there is a lot of elements when it comes to picking a guitar. Um, the the story I told you at the beginning culminated when I gave my guitar away at this mission trip. The church that we were attending at the time found out about it, and they took up a love offering. So when I say I have not spent any of my money on buying a guitar, is it certainly it was all God's money. They gave me a love offering, and I went around the corner from the church. There was a music store in Texarkana, and bought a Takamine, beautiful maroon. It was a thick body. It had a really nice, deep tone to it, um, and it fit. It fit body wise. It had a little bit of a curvature on the backside, so it wasn't a real like an ovation with the plastic body that are real rounded. They give a nice tone, but two round things next to each other tend to get a little wobbly, and so you have to be careful with the way it fits on your body. You have to be careful with the way the distances in which you're using to have to um, use the for the chord positions and fingering positions, and where you're going to strum. You're going to have to. Are you going to strum above the hole, over the hole, or behind the hole? And again, that depends on if your guitar has a center hole, or if it's one of the later models of guitars where they're putting them now up in the little crescent area at the top of the guitar, which those have a great sound to them as well. So when we started again, when we started talking about this, I did do some homework. I did some research. I got on online and looked up at a couple of websites, and really wanted to know um, what were the things that people looked for, what were the things that people were interested in, and what made them choose the guitar that they chose. And so I put together a little consumer report of myself, for myself, and for this podcast, that kind of summarizes all of those things. And there were several categories that they went through. It was really extensive, really comprehensive. It was really good. It was some really great news. And so I decided I would print a copy of this off. I made a copy of the consumer report, and here it is.
Hey, that
So,
looks distinctly familiar to your handwriting.
well, it is my consumer report. So so that
Gotcha.
helps. But
Yeah, yeah.
this is pretty much a nutshell of what I found online and in in the process of looking for this. Um, but but the number one thing really is find one that fits.
Yeah.
And that means the size of it, and really, I mean, they make baby Taylors, you know. They make other smaller guitars. They make a little practice. Well, there's a gentleman in the church that you were attending down in Tyler for a while had a baby bass, and
Yeah.
it's like the half of the size of a real bass, but the tone and the capabilities of it hitting those low ends was incredible. I got to play it once. It was really a neat instrument. Um, but the bottom line is this: when you're looking for a guitar, and when you're looking for something that's going to meet the needs of what you're wanting to do, find one specifically, one that is going to fit who you are, fit your personality. It's going to fit your body size. It's going to fit your length in
Mhm.
how you're playing it, and even however big the neck is in order for you to effectively form the chords. All of those things come into play, and there's really no one I mean, I hate to burst anybody's bubble, but there's just really no one thing that says this is the guitar to buy,
Yeah.
or this is the guitar to look for, because there's just, like you said, there's thousands of them out there, and they all have different aspects. I.e., all of the ones, the ones hanging on the wall back here, they all perform a different duty, and they all have all actually have something in common with your Taylor, and that is Junior. So, um, so this is the blessing that you see behind me here is also a blessing that serves as a reminder that I have an instrument to use and to utilize it for the glory of God. So that's the very thing I want to be able to do. So find one that fits the size,
Yeah.
the actual physical size of the guitar. And then find one that is going to fit the sound and what you want to do. Because it's not just a matter of having a six-string guitar, because there's also acoustic and there's also acoustic electric. There's also electric acoustics. There's also classical styled guitars, and they have a whole different feel to them as well. The neck on a classical guitar is wider than on a common acoustic guitar, and that is because of the capabilities and the finger action that you're going to provide and what they do with those. They also house a different string, so
Yeah.
it has everything to do with what you're doing, what you're wanting to do. And then, if you just really want to be vain enough, find one that looks good. What you think looks good.
Yeah.
The red and yellow Hondo that we had got, we did find it at a garage sale, and that was a starter guitar for you. Uh, but we knew pretty quick that this was going to be something that you wanted to pursue, and so in that process, then uh, the difficulty was finding something that was going to fit your personality
Yeah.
uh, in those days. And so finding that Ibanez was a good find, and we looked at a lot of guitars before stopping at that one. So
Yeah. Well, and I picked that one up several times and put it back down again
yep,
before we pulled the trigger on that one. But yeah, the I agree completely. I think well, I agree completely with what you're saying. Find one that fits, find one that works for your setting. Um, I think uh, a big hang up would be find one that fits your budget. Because
sure,
you can get a guitar for $20 or you can get a guitar for $2 million. They're out there.
yeah, that's probably out there.
I mean, some special edition signed by, Bob Marley and
Yeah, yeah,
Alan Jackson and, whoever else or, whatever the case is. There are guitars out there. If you want to go spend stupid money on a guitar, you can find them.
yep,
And if that's your thing, go for it.
yep,
But you don't have to spend all of that
correct,
money to get
correct.
something that sounds good and fits good and feels good. But then even if you've ever been to a Guitar Center store, not endorsed, but if you walk into a Guitar Center and you look at the back wall and it's guitars from floor to
Yeah,
ceiling, from
yeah,
wall to wall. And then they have an acoustic room. It's
yep,
its own room that's
yeah,
separate from the rest of the store that's also full of guitars. So walk through there and pick up the ones that draw your eye. I mean,
sure,
talking about one that looks good. That was one of those things that drew me in on that Ibanez was the way that it looked. It was a little different than the rest of them hanging on the wall.
right,
The color was a little brighter than the rest of them hanging on the wall, and that was that in combination with the price and the sound and the feel of that guitar and the way
right,
that it fit me was the reason why we ended up going with that one, and I love that guitar because of it.
yep, yeah. And then to go along with that, and every pun intended, to top it off, get strings that work well with your fingers.
Yes. Yes.
Um, make
Yeah.
sure that you can develop decent calluses without ripping your fingers open uh, on a very light. If you want a bright sound, you can get a bright sound out of a thick string uh, as well, depending upon the style of guitar that you're playing. So you
Well,
don't have to go with those super light strings that are like fine as hair,
yeah.
because they will end up opening up at the end of a finger. So you got to be
Yeah.
careful with that. But choose the strings that you like. Choose the ones that are gonna sound well with that style of guitar too. So there are some strings out there that will make a good round, solid sound, a good rounded, solid sounding guitar sound really bad.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say is if there's a place to spend some money, it would be on the strings because not only can you have a mediocre guitar, strings make a mediocre guitar sound pretty good. You can also have strings make a really nice guitar sound awful.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
yeah, be sure you're talking with the guys there at the store and saying, okay, this is kind of what I'm looking for. This is
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and a lot of times they'll help you out with the style of string that you think you might like. Um, and they're not so expensive that you put a set on, you play with them for 2 or 3 or 4 months, and decide, yeah, I'm gonna try something different, and you go with
Exactly.
a different string. So
Yeah, yeah, and they're anywhere from 6, $8 to $50 a set of strings. So,
yeah,
uh, and then let's top that one. Have you ever had the opportunity to play a 12-string acoustic guitar?
I have. Yes,
Wow.
that's
I mean, for number one, the physics of it just don't make any sense to me. Not that you can't put 12 strings on a guitar, but how they figure out which string is supposed to couple with the other one and you get them tuned, it just boggles my mind.
yeah.
Oh my, yeah. See,
Well,
again, what are you using the instrument for? And so that's where you're looking at.
right, and the way those are tuned is strange, and yet they sound incredible when you got them right too. So
Oh yeah.
a lot of
Oh
fun.
yeah.
A lot of fun. Well,
Oh yeah.
we have merely scratched the surface. Kind of opened up a few facets of areas of discussion when it comes to guitars. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we're going to continue this discussion over the next few weeks in some different areas, some different gear, some different equipment that you use on a weekly basis. In particular, in the worship range of things, since this is a worship
It's
podcast.
what we do.
It's kind of what we do. So, yeah, if you have any questions about what we've talked about this week, if you have any suggestions for us, if there's something in particular that you'd like some advice about, reach out to us. You can find us either here on YouTube. Also, we have a Facebook page. And you can also shoot us an email at messageworshiphearts@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have and help you out as far as we can in
Absolutely.
maybe a guitar selection or string selection department there. So, and we
Yeah.
didn't even get into the whole pedal board and amps and
Oh
whether
yeah.
you
See.
plug in or play live, or
Yeah.
that's a whole nother discussion for
Yeah,
another
that's
day.
that's that's
So,
electronics, so that's a whole different ball game. So
oh yeah, oh yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for listening and being with us this week.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you have any questions for us, shoot us a message, and we will see y'all next time.
Bye now.